Okay, so in this video I'm going to go over 4 things. The first thing is going to be zeros of the graph. Okay, then we're going to go over positive versus negative intervals. And next we'll talk about increasing versus decreasing. Okay, and then finally we'll talk about the maximum or the maxima and minima. Okay, so starting off with zeros, we've talked about those in class before. We're just looking at any of the points where your graph crosses the x-axis. So if I look at this first example, in example 1, I've got 1, 2, 3 zeros. Okay, and for the purposes of this video, I know this graph isn't labeled, but let's just assume that each box here is worth 1, so we'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got a 0 at 6. I've got another one at -2, and my third 0 is at -5. Okay, so here my zeros are x is equal to -5, x is equal to -2, x is equal to 6. Okay, so those are the zeros. Okay, now positive and negative, we're just looking at where is the graph negative, so that would be any points where it's below the x-axis, and then where is it positive, so anywhere where it's above the x-axis. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with negative. I'm going to highlight that in green. So here negative would be like right here. That portion is on the negative side, and this part right here. Okay, and we're going to describe that using intervals. And whenever we describe our intervals, we're going to just describe them on the x-axis. Okay, so when I'm looking at that first portion highlighted in green, we can see that it's covered right here on the x-axis. Starts right there, all the way to there. So we would say the interval from -7 all the way to -5, the graph is negative in that portion. Okay, so I'm going to write here negative. I'm going to say from -7 all the way to -5. Okay, and then the other portion where it's negative is over here on this side from 6, it looks like, to 7. So we're going to say it's also negative from 6 to 7. Okay, so then for positive, I'm going to go ahead and highlight that one in blue. It's all these other parts, all of the parts that are above the x-axis. Okay, since that's all one piece and it's connected, I can just describe it as a single interval. So looking on my x-axis, I see that it starts here at -5, and it keeps on going all the way until 6. So we're going to say that it's positive from -5 all the way up until 6. And actually now I realize when I put the brackets before, we're going to actually put parentheses on some of them. And I'll explain why in just a minute here. So on the -5, I'm going to change that one to a parenthesis. because I'm noticing here -5, that's where it's equal to 0, so it's not negative right there. The graph is negative from here to here, but once it hits -5, it's now equal to 0. So I don't want to include -5 in the portion where it's negative. And then same thing over here for 6. It's at 0 at 6, so it's not included in the negative portion. It's only negative after 6. Okay, so positive is positive after -5, and everything before until it gets to 6. Okay, but then once it hits 6, it's going to be equal to 0, so I'm going to put parentheses so that I'm not including 6 as one of the places where it's positive. Okay, so that's now positive and negative. Now we're going to go ahead and go into increasing and decreasing. Okay, so for increasing, we're just looking at any portions of the graph where it has a positive slope, or it looks like it's going up. So if I look on here, I'm going to go ahead and highlight these in yellow. It looks like it's increasing in this portion, and then again in this portion, this portion. Okay, and then the two parts that you see aren't highlighted in yellow, those would be decreasing. Okay, so we'll start with increasing. I'm going to say that it's increasing so increasing from, let's see, what was that? We had -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7. So it's increasing from -7 all the way until -4. And this time we're going to include the endpoints -7 and 4, since it is increasing all the way up until that point. So we're going to say it's increasing from -7 to -4. Okay, then it's increasing again from 2 all the way up until, see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then it's going to be decreasing in the other portions. So decreasing here in that portion and that portion. Okay, so then we would say that it's decreasing right here from -4 all the way until -2, and from 5 all the way till, let's see, 6, 7 is where it stops decreasing. So from 5 to 7. Okay, so that's increasing, decreasing. Increasing, basically, you're looking at all of the intervals where the graph is going up, and decreasing all of the intervals where the graph is going down. Okay, now maxima and minima. Basically, a maxima or maximum would be a point where it changes from increasing to decreasing. And then minima would be vice versa. It's going from decreasing to increasing. Okay, so we would say that we have a maximum right here at this point. Since it's going at that point, it changes from being increasing to decreasing. So we would say we have a maximum Notice I'm writing UM, that would be the single form. When I say maxima, that could be where I'm saying several different maximum points. Okay, so plural, more than one would be maximum. Maximum is just a single one. So we have a maximum here at -4. And we've got another one here at 5, where it's going again from increasing to decreasing. Okay, and then minimums. I'm going to say that we have those at anywhere it's going again from now from decreasing to increasing. So right here where it's orange and then yellow, it would be decreasing and then increasing. So that's right at -2. And looks like that's the only place where we have where it's going orange being decreasing, switching to yellow, which is increasing. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for second graph. So again, starting off with the zeros. Okay, so here it looks like I have 2 zeros, one right there and one right there. It's a little hard to tell where that first 0 is. I'm okay with you for this, just kind of estimating where you think it's at. I'm going to say this one here is right at 0.5. We have 0 at x is equal to 0.5. Second one looks like it's at 2. Okay, now we'll look at where's the graph negative. It's just going to be in that little portion right there. So I'm going to say from 0.5 all the way into 2. So negative from 0.5 to 2. I'm going to put parentheses. I don't want to include 0.5 or 2 because in those locations it's actually equal to 0, and 0 is not a negative number. And positive is going to be for the rest of my graph. So like right here, it's all on the positive side of the x-axis, so above the x-axis, and also right here is also positive. Okay, so I'm going to say anything less than 0.5 is going to be positive, and anything greater than 2 is going to be also positive. I'm going to say from, since I have arrows, I know it's going to infinity. I'm going to say anything from -infinity, all the way over here, all the way up until that point right there, which we said was 0.5 is going to be positive, as well as starting at 2, going all the way to now positive infinity since I've got this arrow going off to the side. So from 2 to positive infinity. Okay, so that would be the intervals where it's positive. Now increasing, decreasing. Okay, I'm going to start with decreasing this time. So it looks like it's decreasing right here in this portion, right to about right there. Then it starts to increase. Then it's decreasing for a little bit right here. And then it starts increasing again. Okay, it's a little hard to tell on some of these where it's starting to decrease versus increase. So just go ahead and give it your best estimate. But for this first portion, we can see it's going to negative infinity. So I'm going to say it's decreasing, starting at negative infinity and ending at 1. So we'll say decreasing from negative infinity to 1. And then it's also decreasing, looks like at 3 all the way until 4. Okay, and then the other portions of the graph are all increasing. So increasing right there and right there. So it's increasing from 1, looks like, to 3. And then from 4, and since we have an arrow, it's going off to positive infinity. So I'm going to say from 4 to positive infinity. Just like that. Okay, and then only part we have left out now would be maximum or maxima and minima. So maxima anywhere where it's changing from increasing to decreasing. So increasing was my yellow, decreasing was my green. So I'm looking anywhere where it changes, starting with yellow, then going to green. Which looks like that would be right here. Right, it's going from increasing to decreasing at that point. And looks like that's the only spot. So we're going to say we have a maximum at x is equal to 3. Okay, then for minimum, now I'm looking where it goes from decreasing to increasing. So we have one right there and right there. So minima at x is equal to 1 and x is equal to 4. Okay, and that's going to be it for this video. You can feel free to, if you need to, watch it again. And you can use this as a guide as you're working through your assignment for today. Make sure you remember that you do take a picture of your handout all filled out with these 2 examples and go ahead and post that to Classroom. All right, and that'll be it.